Welcome to the 12th Report with Blessings Mosugu, and these are the headlines. Now, unfortunately, there's been a lot of red alerts flying around lately as UNICEF issues another as $160 million funding gap pushes millions of Nigerian children to the brink as crisis explodes in the northeast. Outdated, unrealistic, inadequate, the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission blasts Tinubu's 1.5 million naira salary as insulting. Massive pay review underway for political office holders amid rising national economic meltdown. And power struggle in Sudan as Burhan seizes total control, militias, rebels forced under army command as civil war tethers on edge. We also have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country, Joshua Imirai from Abuja and Umaru Kirawa, who is currently in Borno. We'll give you the details in a moment. And now to the stories. The trial of the 5 men accused in the St. Francis Catholic Church massacre in Owo, Ondo State, has resumed today at the Federal High Court in Abuja. The defendants, Idris Abdulmalik Omeza, Al-Qasim Idris, Jamiu Abdulmalik, Abdulalim Idris, and Momo Otuo Abubakar, are appearing before Justice Emeka Nwite. Now, at their early arraignment on the 11th of August, they pleaded not guilty to a 9-count terrorism charge and were remanded in the custody of the Department of State Services. We can now join our correspondent, Joshua Imirai, at the Federal High Court, who is currently standing by to give us an update. Joshua, now, at the last adjourned date, the court ordered the defendants be kept in the DSS custody with access to, or access granted to their relatives and lawyers. Have they been able to meet with any of these people?
Well, good afternoon to you, Blessings. For a fact, the court did order sought that the defendant be remanded to the custody of the DSS and they be given access as we see their relatives. But unfortunately, today, as the resumed hearing today, the defense counsel representing the 5 defendants approached the court with a emotion in motives, seeking the bail applications of this individual. And the reason for that bail application was that his clients, that is the defendant in the story and the entire proceedings, we are not given access to see their family. That he, on several occasions, approached the DSS seeking to see the defendant and were denied. However, the prosecuting counsel informed the court that the application to see the defendant in this case was granted this morning, as there are certain bureaucracy that should be followed before one could come to the DSS custody and see some of the defendants who are in the DSS custody. So that is why they were not given access. But upon the commencement of hearing today at the Federal High Court, the prosecution told the court that the application has been granted and that the defense counsel can see the defendants in question.
Now, Joshua, we understand that these young men have pleaded not guilty despite the counts mounted up against them. What are the other key moments that stood out in court today?
Well, several key moments stood out today in court, and one of it is the handover of the prosecution to a new lawyer. That's the person of Jaji, who is taking over the prosecution. And also, a motion expertise was granted today, an application for motion expertise was granted today, seeking witness protection for the 6 prosecuting witnesses who will testify in this trial. And also, the defense counsel in this particular trial and case applied for a bail for the defendants, relying on the fact that these defendants were not granted access to see their relatives and the counsel. This move was actually contested for by the prosecuting counsel, who says that these persons are allegedly linked to a foreign terrorist organization in the name Al-Shabaab, and releasing this same persons back to the society will pose a security risk for Nigerians, and that the court should discountenance this motion. Well, they were back and forth, but however, the court adjourned to the 10th of September 2025 for ruling on the bail application, while they will notify the parties in this case on the next stage for trial commencement proper.
All right, Joshua Murray, thanks for the update. We'll definitely be following up on the story to see, especially when it's been adjourned, to also know what the decision is. Now, drama in the Gwagwalada area of Abuja as residents around the Kaida area of the council were seen digging for gold as they claimed deposits of the precious mineral has been discovered in the community. The area, though heavily guarded by vigilantes, saw men, women and youths seriously digging for the precious metal. None of them refused to speak on camera, as only shots stolen with a phone camera could be obtained. All of them, I beg your pardon. Now, there has been no official reaction to the incident from the Federal Capital Territory Administration just yet, or from the Ministry of Solid Minerals. And now, displaced persons in the northeast Nigeria are bracing for tougher times as critical humanitarian aid is suspended. The freeze, triggered by shrinking donor support and operational challenges, has left thousands at risk. The United Nations Children's Fund says it requires $255 million for humanitarian response this year, but has received just $95 million, leaving a funding gap of $160 million. News Central's Umoru Kirawa joins us now to give us updates on this development. Umoru Kirawa, it's quite a sad one, looking at the $160 million funding gap that has now left millions of children at risk. What is the update on that?
The update is that the United Nations Children's Fund has already described the whole scenario. Due to the US funding cut, they are finding it very difficult. Of course, there is 67% gap of what the United Nations Children's Fund that are supposed to get that are not available. As such, this has started affecting the livelihood of displaced persons and even communities, in people in the host communities, because usually the United Nations Children's Fund and other development partners usually distribute food items and support in terms of healthcare and even tackling the issue of out-of-school children. As such, this is seriously affecting the situation, and families are finding it very difficult. But I have one of the displaced persons here with me who will tell us more with regard to the situation. He's a farmer, and he's here. Okay, Abakar Modu, I under Bulumin, Kalamar Bay, Buron, Buri Fundin, go Kirmal, Buribad, I, Kirmadi, Buron, Burifundin, Alabaras, and then Alanda Kandipara. Mama Bay, Fundin Bari, Wala and do say Barry Lagi, Barry de Chinto, the Rimbo, Tibra, Nama. So, what this elder young man is saying is that they are finding it very difficult now. They had to resort to farming for orders and to get paid. And in fact, the farming they cannot access distance farms because of fear of insurgents and of course the Boko Haram terrorists. Some of them that are marauding Lake Chad and other communities in Borno.
So, Umoru, I just want to quickly ask, because a lot of people would make it seem like it's a northern problem. And one thing I like to always say is it's not a northern problem, it's a Nigerian problem. How do you think that this will affect the children in the north, but also the people around the northern communities, especially when it comes to disbursement of food supply and things like that, when they have their own issues to deal with?
Yes, I think one of the major things that the government really need to prioritize is to ensure safety and security of communities, because there's a saying that any government that cannot ensure the safety and security of its citizens, that government should not last a minute longer than absolutely necessary. You could recall that in recent days, we reported the incidents of an attack on one of the border communities in Kirawa, in Kokona Local Government area of Borno State, where a young girl was kidnapped. And up to now, we've not had any response with regard to practical solutions of tackling the porous nature of the border. Even the Nigerian military there is no base in that border community. And as such, the issue of security is primacy to governance, and the government really need to prioritize the security and safety of communities so that the displaced persons and even host communities can engage in farming to earn their means of survival, as that has been the age-old tradition.
Thank you for the update on that. Nigeria's National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Education, has proposed mandatory drug testing for students in tertiary institutions to curb rising substance abuse. The move has drawn mixed reactions from students, of course, and even parents and educationists. News Central's Omolola Ololade has been following the story and now joins me to give us update on that. Omolola, it's a very interesting one. How are the students and the teachers and even the parents, but I see you're in school, so how are the students reacting to this new development of mandatory drug testing? Okay, we'll try to circle back to Omolola to give us update on that. She is currently in the school premise and she's definitely going to get a sample the opinions of the students and let us know what they think about it. Now, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, has directed Nigerian universities and tertiary institutions to complete all 2025 admissions within strict deadlines beginning October 31st. Now, according to JAM, public universities must wrap up admissions by October 31, while private universities have until November 30th. All other tertiary institutions are required to conclude admissions by December 31st. The directive, which followed the 2025 policy meeting chaired by Education Minister Olatunji Alausa, is aimed at stabilizing the academic calendar and ensuring fair access to admission slots. Institutions have also been told to complete post-UME screenings promptly and record admissions, even if academic sessions have not commenced. Now, the 2025 UTME results were released in May, leaving millions of candidates anxiously awaiting admission into Nigerian tertiary institutions. It's still the 12 reports. We're going on a short break now. When we come back, more stories. Stay with us. Mandatory drug tests for students in the universities or tertiary institutions to ensure compliance and morality. And we have News Central's Omolola Ololade on standby to give us the details of that and to feel the pulse of the people. Omolola, how are the students and teachers or lecturers reacting to this?
Hello, Blessings. Yes, you know, we did speak to students of the University of Lagos, and then we had a mixed reaction from them. You know, while some students say it is a welcome development and, you know, necessary, others are saying that they don't think it's going to be effective, especially when they consider the privacy and the consent of the students. However, you know, that there have been various, fight against drug abuse in Nigeria, but recently the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency is targeting university students, saying that there's been an increasing trend of drug abuse among the youth population in Nigeria. And of course, the focus now is on higher institutions, students in higher institutions. And right now, you know, I have some student here with me in University of Lagos who, you know, let's just hear from the horse's mouth. Please come. I have Kabira Jimo here on my left. And of course, I have Fuad Bakare. They're going to be telling us, I'm going to be asking them a few questions about what they think about the NDLEA compulsory testing. So I'll start with Kabira. Kabira, what exactly do you think about the testing?
I think the drug testing is very, very important. The school should make it compulsory to test all students, because these students that take drugs, hard drugs especially, they can get violent and, you know, get very destructive in hostels or in the class. While some people say without these drugs they cannot read or assimilate, I don't think that is good. But I think the drug testing is very, very important. The school should make it compulsory because students can get destructive.
Thank you very much, Gabriel. So on my, let me go to Fuad now. Fuad, what do you think? Because some of your students, I've spoken to some other people, and they've said that they do not think it's necessary, basically because of the consent and, you know, privacy of, they don't think it's, rather it's a rehabilitative measure. They don't think it's a preventive measure. What do you think about that?
I think it is necessary because it's a way to like provide a safe environment and a drug-free environment for students of the university, and also can also help them in like all the students are like have an issue with them, drug and stuff, we can also help them, rehabilitate them and all of that.
Thank you very much. So that's it from Kabirat and, of course, Fuad. They're saying that from them, both of them, they're saying that it's necessary. But, while I spoke to parents and even education, it was sort of a mixed reaction. But particularly I'll talk about the education is because they're saying that it helps them to know the kind of student they are dealing with, that and it's not supposed to infringe on their rights anyways, that it doesn't stop them from, doing this, doesn't stop them from learning.
Okay, well, I like that you talked about rights, because I was going to ask about the conversation of privacy. You know, many people would say that it's an infringement on their privacy. So how do they intend to enforce this without actually infringing on people's privacies? Because it's only a matter of time when they start stopping them at random to conduct these tests.
Okay, yes. So in an interview with, I did an interview rather with the Director of Media and Advocacy, that the NDLEA's Director of Media and Advocacy, talking of Femi Babafemi. He did talk about privacy and consent, and he did say that the drug testing is not a punitive one; it's a rehabilitative measure, and that the fact that these students have to go through medical tests before they get into school, that the NDLEA compulsory drug testing is just an additional medical test, if you ask me. So it's just a way of getting them, it's just a way of getting to know them better, to know if this student need help, and to know how they can be taken care of.
All right, Amola, thank you for the update on that. Now, tensions are rising in Kaduna as members of the Nigerian Bar Association stage a protest over the alleged forceful eviction of residents from the Jaji military cantonment. Now, some youths from the affected communities have also joined, accusing authorities of heavy-handed tactics. Earlier reports from News Central highlighted the evictions, including a statement from the commandant, who insisted the action will not be reversed. Emmanuel Bagudu now joins me to further analyze this. Emmanuel, can you describe the scene on ground where you are?
Yes, it's a feeling of anxiety, at least coming in from the members of the Nigerian Bar Association alongside the communities affected within the Jaji cantonment who have been allegedly evicted, possibly evicted. And the Nigerian Bar Association is making its position clearly here today during this mini protest on the press conference, saying that its position is very clear that it condemns the action of the Jaji cantonment, despite that response News Central secured from the commandant. They said that response from the News Central, the interview News Central had with the commandant, is not an excuse for breaching the court order. They believe that the military must obey the rule of law, and then the atmosphere is so tense that they don't want to mince words in sending a statement to the military and to the Nigerian government. You can see those placards there, it being inscribed, with their messages. Yeah.
So, have the authorities or the commandant made any further statements in response to these protests, and how are the security forces managing the situation as well?
Well, this mini protest, this reaction coming from the community and bar and the bench in Kaduna is coming after the reaction, as a reaction.
All right, Emmanuel Bagudu is okay. I think we've lost his connection there. We'll come back to him, but that is the protest on alleged land grabbing that you can see, and Emmanuel Bagudu is on ground covering the story. Now, News Central has been recognized once again for excellence in broadcasting. This time, the youth of Urobo Nation have inducted the station into their Hall of Fame, applauding its unbiased reporting on the Okuama 2024 bloodbath, where 17 Nigerian Army officers were tragically killed. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu reports from Delta State.
Okuama, a once peaceful agrarian community along the Focados River in Ughelli South local government area of Delta State, was devastated after 17 army personnel were killed on 14 March 2024. In retaliation, the military displaced residents and laid siege for 6 weeks. Investigative reports by News Central exposed the true situation, prompting the military to vacate the community.
And as of today, 8th of May 2024, the military have withdrawn from Okuama.
To uncover facts and understand the tragedy, News Central hosted a town hall series with displaced Okuama residents who shared their experiences and identified suspects in the killings.
We are here to appeal to the federal government, the state government, and Nigeria Army that our leaders, that they are in custody, they should release them for us. Then let this community be rebuilt again.
A year later, the Rural Progress Union Youth Wing formally recognized News Central's banners reporting by presenting an award at a ceremony. On behalf of News Central's Managing Director Kayode Akintumi, South Bureau Chief Austin Azu received the award.
News Central very passionate about our people. We are 24 hours operating within Okuama and environments. And we are able to bring the truth to power. And today, we are not surprised with this honor bestowed on us by our own honorable youth for their recognition. Indeed, we dedicate this award to God Almighty and to the good people of Africa. The News Central vetted to continue to amplify the voices of the unheard in Africa and in Nigeria.
Ali Baba, renowned African comedian, and other dignitaries shared their thoughts on the recognition.
When the Nigerian military illegally invaded Okuama, destroyed and burnt Okuama houses, killed or destroyed our women, pursued our children, our mothers into the bush, only News Central came out to bring out the truth to the world, to tell the world that of a true Okuama people deserve a fair hearing.
When that story came out and people were being political with the news, News Central went and dug deep to unravel the real realities that were driving the issues. For the Robo people, we thought that they did well. That it's not like they took our side, that we're recognizing them. We're recognizing them because they stood on the side of truth. Whether it was us or the others, it was that they gave a balanced news and let people then make up their minds. They moved into the community and stayed until everything died down.
It's a good one, and it is aimed at encouraging the station to continue to be objective in its reportage and to give credible news, a balanced one, in line with international best practices.
News Central TV remains committed to delivering accurate, fair, and people-focused journalism, amplifying the voices of marginalized communities. In Delta, for News Central, Austin Azu.
A very big congratulations to News Central Television, and here's to assuring that News Central continues to be objective and tell the truth as it is. Now, we're still staying in Urobo. The residents of Okuama community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State are demanding the release of their leaders who have spent 1 year in military custody without trial. The leaders were arrested following the killing of 17 soldiers and officers on a peace mission to the community in March 2024. Now, villagers say the continued detention without access to lawyers, medical care, or family visits violates their fundamental right. At a press briefing organized by the Citizens' Rights Concern Enhancement Initiative, the community urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to intervene and ensure justice is served. Among those detained is Professor Otho Ekpepo, alongside other key figures from the community. And now, Nigeria's Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission has sparked fresh controversy after proposing higher salaries for political office holders. Chairman Mohammed Tahir described the current pay as outdated since 2008, noting that President Bola Tinubu earns about 1.5 million naira monthly less than some agency heads. But the Nigeria Labour Congress has rejected the plan, warning that it will deepen inequality and ignore the hidden perks that already inflate politicians' take-home pay. Meanwhile, RMAFC says it also is reviewing Nigeria's revenue-sharing formula, with experts urging capital funds to be ring-fenced and benchmarked against federal systems in countries like Canada and India. Nigeria's Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission has also announced a fresh review of the country's revenue allocation formula, as earlier mentioned. The move comes more than 3 decades after the last major review, as stakeholders warn that additional allocations to states must be tied to specific projects to curb reckless spending. News Central's Sagir Ibrahim reports.
Revenue allocation formula gives the federal government 52.68%, states 26.72%, and local governments 20.60%. But the Commission says that this framework no longer reflects Nigeria's socio-economic realities, especially after the devolution of new responsibilities to states.
The aim of the review is to produce a fair, just, and equitable revenue sharing formula that reflects the current responsibilities, needs, and capabilities of the 3 tiers of government, federal, states, and local governments, in line with the constitutional rules. The Commission will carefully assess the needs, service delivery obligations, fiscal performance, and development disparities.
Stakeholders welcomed the planned review, describing it as long overdue. They also cautioned against political interference, saying that the process must be transparent, inclusive, and data-driven to ensure fairness across the 3 tiers of government.
When you're allocating more revenues to states, it's important that you ring-fence those, funds. I'm saying you don't just increase for just increasing sake. You increase and also tie it to a project.
We hope that the Commission will continue to be inclusive, to get all the stakeholders to participate in the process so that we can come up with a more fair, more just revenue formula that can help enhance development in Nigeria.
At the National Assembly level, members are allocated resources that they call resources for constituency projects. But they end up using the resources to carry out state and local government responsibilities. Can we make it in a manner where National Assembly members can be able to work with their local government and state government in terms of defining constituency projects?
The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission is assuring all stakeholders that the review will be data-driven, inclusive, and guided by international best practices. They also say that there will be consultations across all tiers of government, civil society, and the private sector. In Abuja for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Now, the police in Nasarawa have arrested a suspected kidnapper after a lone car crash exposed weapons and nearly 7 million naira in cash. The suspect, Mohammed Tahir from Plateau State, was tracked down in Kokona Local Government following a joint police and military manhunt. Recovered from the crash were 3 rifles, magazines, and 57 rounds of live ammunition. Investigators linked Tahir to a 7-man gang behind the kidnap of a lawyer in Nyanya, Abuja. He confessed he was headed to Jos to share ransom money with an accomplice before the accident. Police say the hunt is still on for the remaining suspects. Now, more than 3,000 households affected by flooding in Nigeria's northeast state of Borno have begun receiving food and non-food items to ease their hardship. The distribution exercise launched in Maiduguri by the Northeast Development Commission is part of an emergency response to mitigate the impact of flooding, which displaced thousands of residents, submerged farmlands, and left many communities facing hunger. News Central's Umoru Kirawa has more.
Communities such as Bayan Nepa, Tudunwada, Bulunkutu, and Koshari behind the CBN quarters are among the worst hit areas in Maiduguri. Thousands of families, including widows, nursing mothers, and other vulnerable groups, have been forced to take refuge within their neighborhoods.
Kafin ruwa ya karfi mara na fito iyakacin kirjina na fito na kai kaya sau ɗaya makota na dawo na sake kawa kafin na dawo na uku kuma ruwan gaba ɗaya cinye mamaye cikin ɗaki da kaya na gabaki ɗaya da kyar na fitar da sauran yaran na da sauran kayana.
To cushion the effect of the disaster on households already facing humanitarian challenges, officials of the North-East Development Commission commenced distribution of food and non-food items.
Mu muna cikin anguwar Sandare wajen bakin lambatu. Gidan mu tsilin mu kan mu ne yan cikin ruwa ma sai dai kawai Allah ya rufa mana asiri amma gashi yanzu gwamnati ta taimaka mana ta ba mu shinkafa da siga da bargo da indomi da taliya Allah ya saka.
Officials of the NEDC stressed that the intervention forms part of wider humanitarian responses planned for Borno and other northeastern states affected by natural disasters, as well as the lingering effects of insurgency.
Our assessment gave us, like I said, 3,200 households. So, based on what the management has approved for food and non-food items, we have each beneficiary is going to go home with 7 food and non-food items. Namely, we have the rice, 25 kg. We have spaghetti, carton of spaghetti. We have 5 liters of gallon oil, vegetable oil. We have indomie. We have 10 kg of sugar. We have the non-food items are the mats and then a blanket.
The Commission has assured continued collaboration with the Borno State government and humanitarian partners to help rebuild communities and restore livelihoods. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Now, flooding remains one of the most pressing environmental challenges in Nigeria, destroying livelihoods, displacing families, and crippling communities every year. To tackle this growing crisis, the House of Representatives has inaugurated an ad hoc committee on flood management and response. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, reports.
From Mokwa in Niger State, Yola South in Adamawa State, down to parts of Irawo, Ikorodu and Oke in Lagos State, flooding has left traces of destruction, destroying homes, livelihoods and communities. Experts warn that unless urgent steps are taken, the impact will continue to worsen with changing weather patterns every year.
Every government at the local and state level, they know the flood is coming. They know. And sometimes they are using it to fleece the federal government because the presidency gives them money. Ecological fund, there's flood coming, 3 billion. Not one thing is done.
It is against this backdrop that the House of Representatives has inaugurated an ad hoc committee on flood management and response. The committee is tasked with investigating the root causes of flooding, assessing institutional capacity, and recommending both urgent and long-term solutions.
This ad hoc committee has been constituted not as a symbolic gesture, but as a decisive move to address the growing menace of flooding.
The committee's chairman emphasized the need for a holistic framework, one that prioritizes prevention, early warning systems, and climate adaptation strategies.
The time for a piecemeal approach is over. What we demand is a comprehensive national framework, one that encompasses preventions, mitigation, efficient early warning systems.
Stakeholders, including the Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, raised concerns about Nigeria's worsening humanitarian crisis. He says that many citizens have been internally displaced, not just by flooding, but also by insecurity and other natural disasters.
As of today, the count of internally displaced persons is almost over 3 million Nigerians. And this is not just a figure, it's a size of a country in Africa. Therefore, we must all rise to address the global challenges.
As the committee begins investigations and engagements with stakeholders, hopes are high that its work will mark a turning point in Nigeria's flood management efforts. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Now, in the Federal Capital Territory, residents are calling for the reinstatement of the suspended monthly sanitation exercise, saying it is key to tackling growing concerns over waste and public health. The initiative, first introduced in 1984, was once a nationwide practice, but has declined sharply in recent years. FCT residents argue that the suspension has worsened indiscriminate waste dumping, particularly in satellite towns and open spaces. Now, they say bringing back the monthly exercise would boost community participation, improve hygiene, and reduce the spread of diseases. Although authorities previously promised to revive the initiative, no concrete steps have been taken, prompting renewed calls for government action. And now tension is rising in Rivers State as the 6-month emergency rule declared by President Bola Tinubu draws to a close. Supporters of suspended Governor Simeon Fubara are counting down to his September 18 return. His aide, Jerry Omasogunwa, said residents are eager for him to continue flagship projects like the multi-billion naira Port Harcourt Ring Road. Sole Administrator Vice Admiral Ibokete Bass, however, says he will exit when due, while pushing to complete projects under his watch. President Tinubu imposed emergency rule on the 18th of March, handing control of the state to the retired naval chief amid unrest. Now let's take a look at the business world. The Nigerian naira edged down 0.08% to 1,533.67 naira per dollar on the official market from 1,532.51 naira per dollar on Friday. Now it hit an intraday high of 1,535 naira per dollar and a low of 1,532 naira per dollar, while trading at 1,543 naira per dollar on the parallel market, slightly below last week's 1,545 naira per dollar average. Now, CBN interventions and rising oil output, 1.507 million barrels per day in July, up from 1.505 million in June, are supporting stability. The IMF praised CBN's reforms but urged stronger risk-based supervision. Meanwhile, the US dollar index topped 98 amid geopolitical developments and a dovish Fed outlook. Markets await Jerome Powell's Jackson Hole speech Friday for Fed rates guidance. Nigeria's sub-national remain heavily reliant on federal lifelines as new data show Jigawa, Taraba and Sokoto among the most dependent on the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAAC. An Agora policy report revealed that FAC disbursements made up 73.8% of revenues across 30 states in H1 2025, 2 years after subsidy removal boosted oil receipts. Of a 6.05 trillion naira released, 4.46 trillion naira came from FAC, while IGR was only 1.59 trillion naira. Now, Lagos was the outlier, with federal transfers below 1/3 of its revenue. Economist Ayo Teriba urged states to unlock investments, citing weak tax systems and low economic activity. We're still talking business. Nigeria has emerged as Africa's largest stablecoin market, recording nearly $22 billion in transactions between July 2023 and June 2024. And this is according to Yellow Card's new report, Stablecoin Adoption in Emerging Markets. Stablecoins now account for 43% of crypto volume in sub-Saharan Africa. Globally, stablecoin market capitalization surged from $5 billion in 2020 to $230 billion by May 2025. In Nigeria, stablecoins offer critical solutions for FX scarcity and naira volatility. The SEC plans a crypto-smart Nigeria Strong initiative and is exploring a naira-pegged stablecoin framework backed by verifiable reserves for cross-border trade and programmable finance. We're going on another short break, and when we come back, we've got more stories. Do stay with us. And now to foreign stories. Environmental activists have taken to the streets of Johannesburg as part of a continent-wide week of action against fossil fuels. The coordinated protests are holding simultaneously in Uganda, Mozambique, Benin, Tanzania, Senegal, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and several other countries. In Johannesburg, demonstrators marched from the headquarters of Standard Bank, Africa's biggest financier of fossil fuels, calling out what they describe as fossil colonialism and the global companies driving it. For more on this, now we'll cross over to our correspondent, Bongani Ziba, who is following the development at the protest.
A very good afternoon to you, Blessings, reporting live from Johannesburg. As you can see behind me, communities, activists are united today to demand justice and an end to the destructive practices of Total Energies. And these voices behind me are calling on a shift away from colonial-style resource extraction towards a just and equitable energy transition, one that prioritizes the needs of local communities over corporate profits. And today they are marching through Johannesburg. They are marching from Standard Bank Africa, the biggest funder of the fossil fuel and one of the Total Energies most powerful supporter, and to the headquarters Total Energies itself. And for these activists, they say this route symbolizes the direct link between financial institutions and ecological devastation. But let me just bring in some of the activists we spoke to earlier on to hear their views.
The reason why we are coming out as communities and as civil society is to confront the extractive, destructive, hyper-exploitative logic that is Total Energies. Ultimately, across the continent, communities are rising up to say, well, we've had enough of the extreme exploitation and destruction that is caused by Total Energies as a major multinational fossil fuel corporation at the expense of our communities and at the expense of our people, our economic sovereignty, and all of these things as well.
Blessings, this movement condemns what they call fossil colonialism and ongoing exploitation driven by multinational corporations like Total Energy, which has a dark history of land grab, displacement and environmental destruction across the continent. And these protesters are demanding several urgent actions. Let me bring in another activist to hear their views again and the actions that they demand.
They need to stop prioritizing profits over people, profits over our planet, profits over our children, our future and everything, right? I feel at the end of the day, if they continue in this direction, we will not have a planet to extract from.
We are behind as a continent in meeting our climate ambition. And this proposed project is coming with displacements and it's going to make the climate impact worse because the East Crude Oil pipeline is the longest heat pipeline that we're going to have. And what is most saddening is that the proposed project is not going to benefit the communities from Tanzania and Uganda, but is going to benefit the fossil fuel companies.
For long, these activists have been saying they are challenging the systematic structures, the inequality and environmental harm for decades. So they are determined to make their voices heard. And their message is Africa's future must be rooted in justice, sustainability and community control. For now, it's back to you in the studio as we continue with this protest.
All right, that was Bongani Ziba on climate action protests. Now, Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has announced sweeping changes to the armed forces in a bid to tighten control as fighting with the Rapid Support Forces rages on. A decree issued on the 18th of August placed allied militias, Darfur rebels, tribal fighters and civilian defense groups directly under Army command. Burhan also reshuffled top leadership, appointing a new Inspector General and Air Force Chief, while retaining General Mohammed Othman al-Hussein as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The move follows retirements of senior officers and is viewed as an attempt to prevent rival factions from rising, much like the RSF itself did. Burhan also met recently with a U.S. Africa advisor in Switzerland to discuss Sudan's fragile transition to civilian rule. Now, analysts warn, however, that with the RSF running a parallel administration, Sudan risks slipping further toward a de facto split. And finally, let's talk about a quiet triumph that should have been a national moment. From Yobe, a state often in the headline for all the wrong reasons, like battling insurgency, staggering numbers of out-of-school children. You know what I'm talking about. 3 teenage girls did something remarkable. Now, I'm sure you've seen it on the news. Here is 17-year-old Nafisat Abdullahi Aminu. She just defeated 20,000 contestants from 69 countries to win the Global Teen Eagle English competition, not in Nigeria, in London. Global. Now, Nafisa didn't come alone. Her squad dominated the competition. 15-year-old Rukaya Fema won Best in Debate, while Hadiza Kali claimed Outstanding Talent. All Nigerian youths from the north. Now, here's a twist. Nigeria has over 20 million out-of-school children. According to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Yet from Yobe, where schools were once insurgency targets, come 3 girls who have mastered the very language that our educational system struggles to teach. Their reward? 500,000 naira each, and a sprinkle of some laptops. Compare that to what reality show contestants who spend 90 days enjoying meals and sharing primetime gossip walk away with. Millions, endorsement deals, and trending hashtags. And not just for a day, for months on end. So if dancing for cameras can buy you a house, imagine what conquering 69 countries in academic excellence should earn you. Nafisa, Rukaya, and Hadiza haven't just won competitions. They've proven that Nigeria's greatest export isn't just oil or entertainment. It's brilliance. Now, that said, in sports, it's the flip of a coin for Nigeria's male teams. On one side, a fight to reclaim past glory, and on the other side, a battle for pride. Let's quickly hear from Onyechi Obaru. Onyechi, are you ready for us?
Yes, of course, I'm ready. The Nigerian Super Eagles B will be up against Congo today at the African Nations Championship, only playing for pride. While we've got then the Afro Baskets in Angola, where the D Tigers, they will be up against Senegal for the quarterfinal, trying to reclaim their 2015 glory. We'll be waiting to see more on that on In the Game.
All right. You heard it. Stay tuned on In the Game for more. And do well to send your eyewitness report because we want to see what you see. Also, follow us live across all social media platforms. We are at News Central TV. And you can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV, Go TV channel 23, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Musugu.